in Lapland organize a festival to celebrate the return of spring with the gentle April sun. Straddling 4 national borders in the north of the Scandinavian peninsula, Lapland is not a country, but the region where the Lapp people live. It's also the home of the reindeer, whose numbers far exceed the human population. 1 million reindeer for 35,000 people. The time has come to free the reindeer from their winter villages, huge enclosures of tundra where they've been confined through the cold and dark months. The sun begins to repossess the sky. The inhabitants of Kotokaino know that the time has come to prepare for a long journey, the migration of the reindeer to their summer pastures on the shores of the Arctic Ocean. The herdsmen will be away for a long time and usually take their families along, including their youngest children. And to ease the hardships of the journey, several herds travel as a group. In the Siri family, there are 4 brothers. Each has his own herd. Every year, they join forces for the move to the summer pastures, with a total of 3,000 animals. At 3 o'clock on the 30th of April, the caravan sets off. There are 15 people, 26 sledges, 3 snowmobiles, 5 dogs, and 3,000 reindeer. The weather's good and the temperature ideal, around 5 degrees Celsius. They have to cross 250 kilometers of snow-covered tundra. With the herd moving at a speed of 4 to 5 kilometers an hour, the convoy will manage around 20 kilometers on this first afternoon. Every evening, they set up camp in the traditional manner. 15 wooden poles are assembled to form a cone over which a thick canvas is pulled. An opening at the top acts as a chimney. When the caravan stops, the women swing into action. Having gathered the supplies for the journey, it's their responsibility to feed their exhausted men. And providing them with hot and varied meals is no easy task. Next day, the 1st of May. It's just past 6 in the morning when Nakal Siri gives the go signal. Reindeer migration is a relatively recent phenomenon. There used to be fewer herds, and the tundra could sustain them all. But in the course of the 17th century, the reindeer population exploded, forcing the Lapp herders to seek summer pastures in the north. May the 2nd. When it shines, the Arctic sun can be merciless. Both young and old need to protect their skin. Barrett Siri is the oldest member of her family. Her cream cakes are justly famous among her kin. A hot cup of tea to wash down the cakes, and it's time for bed. May the 4th, 1:30 in the morning. To make the most of the lengthening days, the travelers get up earlier and earlier. By 4 o'clock, as the caravan starts moving, the sun is already high on the horizon. But the weather has taken a turn for the worse. Freezing wind has caused the temperature to drop and hinders their progress. May the 7th. They're halfway there. For the next 30 kilometers, there's nothing for the reindeer to eat, and so the men on the snowmobiles try to pick up the pace. They must make sure their herd doesn't scatter and panic. And the youngest struggle to follow, but holding back the rest of the herd is out of the question. On the 8th of May, the caravan comes to a sudden halt. Whilst crossing a frozen river, Barrett Siri's sledge has fallen through the ice, and her reindeer has become trapped in the icy slush. The situation is critical. The animal has to be rescued before it sinks further inside. Luckily, the reindeer somehow manages to heave itself out. The priority now is to get dry. They have the good fortune to find some clear and dry ground nearby.
Helga, är du färdig?
Ja, ja.
Jag får sappa den. Du må ta sig igen och sitta in.
After a couple of hours, they're able to start moving again. But the weather has turned bad, and this leg of the journey will be a short one. Spectacle is revealed. During these 2 days, the herd has scattered to the nearby hills. Rounding them up is no small task. Everything is back in order, and the herd is preparing to cross the island. The leader of the herd has started crossing, quickly followed by a long line of reindeer. Without food for 3 days and with the scent of rich pastures beckoning them from the other off-roading to take to the freezing water. Now the Sami family can relax for a while. No need to hurry. Keeping a steady course is enough. The strait between the mainland and the island of Sealand is over 1 kilometer wide, and the herd crosses it in about 20 minutes. A remarkable time after their exhausting journey. When summer finally arrives in the north, nature seems to explode with life, contained until then by the intense cold. And it's this radiating energy that the reindeers absorb all day long, gorging themselves on fresh young grass. The young shepherdesses have plenty of time to gather wild bilberries for their mothers to make jam for the winter. Meanwhile, the men cut down silver birches to fuel the fires on which the reindeer meat will be cured.
Nej, ner igen. Ner först. Det är nog tjocka på.
The summer never lasts long, and at this latitude, there is no real autumn. Usually, by early October, the cold and the snow are back. It's now the 6th of October, and the temperature has dropped below zero. After 3 days of blizzards, the snow is almost 40 centimeters thick. It's time to prepare for the return journey and round up the herd scattered across the island. The first job is to mark the youngest animals, those born in the spring. They're marked on both ears. The cut on the right ear indicates to which herd the animal belongs. The left ear is cut twice. One mark to identify the family who owned the animal, and another its individual owner. A lap can tell at a glance to whom a reindeer belongs. Unmarked animals are considered fair game, and anyone finding such a stray quickly marks it for himself. This 3-year-old male, however, will be subjected to another mutilation. Apart from a few animals in each herd kept for breeding, all males are gelded, which makes their meat more tender. Traditionally, the Lapps used to geld their reindeers by biting their testicles off. Nowadays, they prefer to use special gelding pliers. October the 11th. The herd finally sets off. The temperature is ideal, -5 degrees, hardening the snow to ease their progress. But first they must recross the strait. This time, the herd have no desire to jump in the icy water. The herd leader is haltered and led into the sea. The bell it wears will entice the rest of the herd to follow. Herdsmen maneuver their boats around the animals, shouting to keep them together so the youngest ones don't get swept away by the current and drown. At 3 in the afternoon, the first of the reindeer reach the shore. The herdsmen don't intervene. The young animals must grow strong, or they'll never complete the return journey. "21st of October, 5 in the evening. The temperature is 9 below zero. It's 10 days since the herd crossed the channel. The younger animals have regained their strength, and the snow has hardened enough to support the weight of a snowmobile. The return journey can begin at last, in conditions even worse than in the spring. Are becoming shorter and the cold more intense. On the 1st of November, the thermometer reaches 14 degrees below zero. A few days later, on November the 7th, minus 17. And on the morning of the 15th, minus 20. If a blizzard scatters the herd, it will take a week to round them up and start again. Even though everyone is impatient to get back, they occasionally have to rest in the warmth. The men fend off the cold with food and schnapps, but the strain of the journey is beginning to show on their faces. December 6th. Some pale lights in the sky testify that the sun lurks beneath the horizon. They are 60 kilometers northwest of Cotocaino, and the temperature is minus 37. For the men in the snowmobiles heading into the wind, the chill factor makes it minus 50. They will have to bear this intense cold for the last 3 days of the journey. Finally, on the 12th of December at 11:30 a.m., the herd reached their destination. The sun still provides some traces of daylight. The reindeer are penned until the spring in their winter villages. The 250 kilometers of the return journey have taken 2 months, 4 times longer than in the spring. One last operation operation remains, sorting the animals. Each of the Siri brothers has to identify his own and take them from the herd. At last, they have time to think of their own families. The Siri brothers will slaughter 2 or 3 of the best animals for their personal consumption. Christmas is approaching, and the festive meals need preparing.
Onko täällä koko porro? No täällä kuitenkin. Nyt tällä.
Three o'clock in the afternoon, the brothers leave the winter village. On the horizon, the sun finally sets, for the last time until next year. Home at last after their long journey. They've been away between May and December, 7.5 months. On the menu, reindeer soup, reindeer stew, and a delicacy, reindeer marrow. After the cold, the hunger, and the exhaustion, the joy of resting and eating meals fill. And the wait for the first rays of the New Year sun to appear at noon on the 14th of January.